you live from o'donoghuespub.com. Smarmy Kitten! Featuring on drums, Chris Spilsbury as Fuck Squatch. On bass, we have Aaron Solomon as Alter Ego. I love how you guys are doing that. On keyboard, sampler, and auxiliary percussion, we have J. Ryan Stradal as Keith Stash. On the guitar, here, making this all happen, is Tony Graziaso as The Truth. And on lead vocals, last but not least, we have the one, the only, the great Dan Safarik as Flaubert Snafu.
Welcome to the rest of your life.
Ladies and gentlemen, Smarmy Kitten.
Last chance to fall face down. Last chance to rest me of my crown. In a deep hole I am dug. Crisis on your zebra road. Woo! You have a higher power. Tuesday clock has struck the hour. And everything is my fault. So come on, let me buy you a chocolate malt. Barking up the wrong tree. Well, so much for chastity. So you can't take it anymore. Well, you know how to find the door. Drywall. That's the truth. Goose and gargoyles are two in their tribe of the two beauties. Know how to lie. Shins in the skillet and the back to wheel fry. Well, I guess it's when I'm going high. I'm so sorry. I'm so fucking sorry. Everything was my fault. Crucify me on your best set of silverware. Shove my hands in the toaster. I don't care. I just want to be back on your zebra road.
So, wow. gentlemen, that was awesome there, by the way. Thank you very much for coming out tonight.
Thanks for having us.
We're glad you were able to do this. To be fair, this is I think this is mostly on Aaron Solomon over there for driving this to fruition. About a couple weeks ago, he reached out to me and said, we want to do a reunion show of our old college band, and will you put us on the show? And I'm like, I'll always put somebody on the show that wants to be there. So welcome.
Well, thank you very much. I was commenting to my friends today. This has been very much a this is your life day in terms of former bands that I've been with. I actually just finished doing a vocal recording session for another previous band I was in for Galileo, of which Chris, a.k.a. Fuck Squatch, was the drummer. And about a month ago, I did a reunion show with the Ceramic Dalmatians, which is an all-game show theme song cover band. So clearly I'm just regressing, and I'm going to start subsisting only on strained peas shortly.
Something tells me by the end of the evening you will have done a full retrospective of the life that has come before.
If any of my other former bandmates are out there right now, come on out. Let's see what we can't throw together.
So we just listened to your opening song here tonight, Zebra Rug. We'll talk about Smarmy Kitten and its origins here shortly, but give us a little bit of a backstory of Zebra Rug. What's it about? Where'd it come from? How did you guys end up recording it?
Zebra Rug was conceived, I think that's not too strong of a word, on a zebra-striped rug that was owned by you? It was owned by The Truth. And there was something about, well, it's not unlike the leopard skin backdrop you see here, that we found very suggestive about a zebra rug. I suppose it's fair to say that I probably at that point in my life found a spoon suggestive. So maybe that's not saying much, but someone had already written a song that had the word spoon in it about 2 years prior. So went straight to zebra, end of the alphabet. Yeah, I'm done. Yeah, that's what I got.
We were, if memory serves, well, okay, The Truth actually was the proprietor of said rug, so let's let him describe it.
If I recall, did we take it down to the lobby of the college dorm to sit on it to compose as people would pass by for class? I may be remembering this wrong. Either that or the very tiny college dorm, we had the thing set up and we'd just sit there on the floor and like, yeah, I'm going to write a song called The Zebra Rug.
We were definitely interviewed for it about the zebra rug on the zebra rug. I was by Northwestern News Network, otherwise known as, you know it better as NNN. But it was called Someone You Should Know, a.k.a. Someone You Should Run Away From. And we actually brought the zebra rug down into the cafeteria or the basement or something, and we actually shot the whole interview on this rug. And, yeah, I rhapsodized pretty much like I'm rhapsodizing now.
I remember going down and practicing in the dorm lobby and shutting the thin, hollow core sliding doors as if that would protect the rest of the dorm studying from our infernal racket.
It was very much like when Eddie Van Halen was developing his finger tapping technique and he would perform with his back to the audience. We knew that we were onto something really sort of unique and precious, and God forbid anyone stole our unique brand of idiocy of how we bass-awkwardly conceived of all of our songs, which was concept first, and then, hey, what if we put some music to this? So we would sit on the zebra rug and be like, you know what, we should have a song called Zebra Rug. And, well, how would it go? And then, maybe a couple weeks later, we'd kind of get to that.
This is actually how AC/DC writes songs. They just go, the title of the song!
Well, to be fair, let me recount the way that Dan would write the lyrics, which would be, we would be sitting there coming up with some dumb riff that I could play, and and then Dan would spontaneously run into the corner and huddle down and begin writing furiously on his little notepad, coming up with the lyrics, and then he'd come back with
something like Zebra Rug.
Yes, exactly.
So let's talk for a moment about the origin story of Smarmy Kitten, because I understand it's terribly interesting, and it features a lot of backstory before there was like music.
Just start with Jay.
Yeah, that's accurate.
Aaron and I met in the cafeteria one morning. No, I think it was evening. Okay, the whole story shot. I turned to him in the cafeteria and I said, "What's the frequency, Cotter?" And he thought that was funny and invited me to sit down and eat with him for some reason. And at some point during that conversation, we discussed starting a band and that this band would be called Smarmy Kitten. So we started a band the way everyone starts a band. We spent the first year coming up with song titles and album titles. We designed a stage setup, and including a really elaborate stage decor that involved a giant babar with one huge bloated eye. We did all of this before we wrote any lyrics, much less any music writing. At one point, we wrote an entire album of alphabet theme songs, and we can remember almost all of them, even though we never wrote lyrics for any of these songs. It was at a certain point, Aaron could play guitar and sing. I couldn't do anything. There was briefly discussion amongst us about whether or not we should start a Simon & Garfunkel type band, where I'd be the Garfunkel, but I'd just sit there and do nothing. However, Dan intervened at a certain point and said, "How about you write lyrics for some of these song titles you have?" That was devastating to me. It effectively ended my career as a musician. But Aaron then recruited other people who could play music, and they started composing music to go with the lyrics Dan was writing. And so as my role in the band decreased, the music increased. And inevitably, we wrote a song called Sibling Rivalry. And we were going to play that song as our first show at the end of our freshman year. But our drummer at the time, Dave Larkin, Cletus Boggs, didn't like
AKA
Sibling
Dave,
Rivalry. Yeah. So we ended up playing...
It was an Eagles cover, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, we played Peaceful Easy Feeling by the Eagles.
Yes. An unironic Eagles cover was our first performance as a band. And we've been steeped in irony ever since.
The world knows this now.
Yeah.
There's no going back.
There's no going back. What's the other alternate beginning to the band?
The alternate.
Wait. So let me get this straight. Unlike films that have alternate endings,
We have two
You have
beginnings.
alternate beginnings.
You seen Clue with Tim Curry? Yeah, this is like that.
It's like an opposite.
Yeah.
The alternate ending hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
It's still
Fair
being
enough.
composed.
Mhm.
But the alternate beginning went something like this. Flaubert Snafu, who was a sort of a French critical theorist who was very concerned with the characters of the
I'd
Carnegie
say
Children's...
deeply concerned.
Deeply concerned with the characters of the Carnegie Children's Workshop, a.k.a. Sesame Street. Grouvert, why, Big Bear, why is he so happy? So he came to kind of write his dissertation on that at Columbia. And he was running late for an appointment, and he got a taxi going downtown. And, it was one of those kind of harried situations that you have in New York where people are just, everyone wants a cab at the same time. So the truth was just emerging from the Harlem Tabernacle Choir, and he was late, actually about 25 years late for the Velvet Underground rehearsal. And because the truth is timeless, so he got into the cab with me, and we agreed to share the fare. And then we were racing to make the appointment, and in front of the Juilliard School, we ran over Nimrod Everclear, who was the world-class bell euphonium player, studied at Juilliard. And he suffered an incident whereby he lost all of his ability to form new memories about every 24 hours or every gig, as the case may be. So his personality had to be completely reconstructed for every show, thus earning the moniker Alter Ego. And that's who we're dealing with right now.
Aaron, do you want to tell us about some of the egos you've alternated between?
Well, I can only tell you based on what I've read about them, because in 24 hours I won't remember any of this. But so I'm told that I have to reconstruct my personality in its entirety all the time. So today, for example, my alter ego is Burbank. I like to consider myself to be Glendale adjacent.
You really are the capital of entertainment.
How
That's
do you
correct.
How do you feel about jaywalking?
I think it's a really overplayed segment on a late night talk show.
You need to work on being Burbank.
That's right. I shouldn't know that because it last aired at like 11:30 last night. So that shouldn't really register in my mind. But I'm told in the history of go ahead and rim shot me. That's well deserved. No, the first alter ego was performed at the first. We had a great debate about what actually constituted the first Smarmy Kitten gig, and we sort of determined, I think, that the first sort of in terms of creatively where we first realized our vision. We actually have a photo we can hold up in a moment of our first costumed, creatively formed gig. Looks like Flaubert is going to do that for us. Was a Halloween gig at Chapin Residential College at Northwestern University, where we were all students. And as you can see from the fellow on the right, camera right, I was using the moniker of Terror Ostrich, who spoke only in shrieks and wore surgical scrubs on the top and, of course, long underwear as pants. Subsequently, I performed as Elder Brother Wu the Moneylender, Professor Gloom and Doom, Synapse, who spoke only in Morse code, Mr. Schism, Nunfrazio Eigenvector, the sexually indeterminate mathematician, Space Tex, Cock Diesel, Tom 7-second delay, which was a very timely name at the time. And
7 seconds later.
And 7 seconds later, Tom 7-second delay. And there's probably a few others that I don't recall at the moment. Terror Ostrich was the first one. Yeah. So that you saw on the photo there. So yeah, that's and then who knows what I'll be tomorrow.
So that leaves one member we have here tonight, and he's also the newest member, and I believe this is his debut in Smarmy Kitten. This would be Chris Spilsbury, aka Fuck Squatch. I'm going to do something different with you, Fuck Squatch. I am going to.
First time you said that sentence, and don't lie.
I use that on all the dudes. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to present to you one of your origins, and then you get to tell me the other one, since everybody has two. I'm going to go with the Chris Spilsbury origin, and that is Chris Spilsbury is the drummer for 9 out of 10 LA independent bands. If you go out and you see multiple acts in one night at almost any club, Chris will be drumming for at least one of them. So nobody out there give this man a speedball, because if this guy goes down, the LA independent music scene percussion just is gone. So that's one half. You're up.
I can go with that, yes. However, I am Fuck Squatch. I don't want to be here. However, I am obligated, as I am the younger brother and disciple of my favorite drummer, Squatch. And apparently, to my understanding, upon the untimely death of their first drummer, my brother Squatch took the reins, and apparently he can't be here tonight, and he asked me, and
Yeah, squatched you.
these gentlemen here refused to work with anyone on percussion other than someone of Squatch extraction.
A Yeti would have been fine in a pinch.
Well, thanks for joining us, Fuck Squatch, a.k.a. Chris Spilsbury. We're glad to have you here tonight, even though apparently you're not glad to be here tonight.
Not yet.
I am just eager to get back to roaming the forests of the Hollywood Hills.
You be sure to let me know how that goes and what you find. I bet that would make for a great follow-up story.
I shall.
All right. So...
I'd like to point out this is the funniest that Chris Pillsbury has ever been while sober.
I don't know.
This might not have been
That
on
sounds
during this
better,
whole
yeah.
interview.
I think, yeah, it sounded like... Did you...
Lost for the
Shall we recreate that? Could you
Uh,
hear it over the?
You know what? Let's just chalk it up to Buck Squatch being so not interested in being here that he turned his own mic off.
He
So,
did.
So no one has any evidence he was actually here. That's awesome.
Can we do a quick shout out to all former Smarmy Kitten members who may or may not be watching right now?
I'd like to say no, but I think it's already in motion. So go
Yeah,
for it.
It might be. All right. That looks like a P.
That looks like a calamari that someone stepped on.
Respect.
Okay.
That's a respect sign.
okay.
That's how we do it. Well, let's talk about our legacy of drummers, since you sort of touched on that very briefly. Our first drummer was Dave St. John Larkin, a.k.a. Ichabod Cletus Van Horn, a.k.a. Cletus Boggs. I was going to say may he rest in peace, but he's still around somewhere. Then
Lives.
But his character is so dead.
his character is dead
So
to us.
dead.
Dead to us. And then, of course, we had there was Tom Marvelous, formerly of the Jesters, Mr. David Fisher. Then we had Hans Tantrum, a.k.a. Nathan Sturm, also of Blamaday. Then, let's see, actually, Flaubert Snafu, little known fact, Dan Safarik played drums during an entire Smarmy Kitten gig. He is a former drummer, in fact, and he had pulled double duty, sort of the Phil Collins of our world, which is how he likes to think of himself usually.
You know, he actually has a certain Phil Collins-esque feel to him. You know, it's like an invisible touch.
You're on notice.
Then there was Dave Stagel, Angry Man, on drums, and then Asquatch and Fucksquatch, I think that sort of rounds out the drummers. We had a violinist who was a permanent member of the band for 2 years, Alice Springs, a.k.a. Becky Rule. We also had a female singer, songstress, Vaingloria, a.k.a. Amanda Horwitz, or what's she going now by? Lazar Lee.
No, she's back to
Back to Horowitz? Back to Horowitz. Corporate branding. And
Auxiliary. We had a roadie aide-de-camp named Brandon Lovejoy.
oh, yes,
Yeah,
Goldie.
Goldie.
Yeah, Goldie was definitely part of it.
Yeah.
Don't forget to replace the bass.
The replace. Oh yeah, there was more of me once I left. There was Lawrence, aka Randy, who would dress in tinfoil and split blood during concerts.
Yeah, he could spit blood.
He could split blood.
What
Waiting this
was it? Was it real blood?
We don't know.
We like to keep that sort of a
Yeah.
mystery. And
The emotion was real.
as far as you're concerned, it was.
The moment felt real.
Yeah.
That's all that matters.
Yeah.
Then there was the second was what was the middle guy's name?
Sam Kennerly?
Oh, Sam.
What was his code name? Sam. Did we have a name for him?
Oh, yeah.
I Am Summer of Sam?
Good enough.
No.
Okay, and then we had Starletta,
Yes.
who
Oh, yeah.
went on to form a rather industrious indie rock career in New York.
Or a rockin' industry career.
Either one, either and more.
Yeah, something like that.
And then we had some various auxiliary members, such as the Condor, who was our in-studio dancer,
Right.
who only performed during recording sessions, never on stage.
We had Dummy Hoyt.
Dummy Hoyt, who held the cymbal that Hans Tantrum would play.
Yes.
Yes. We had
John Fitzsimmons.
John Fitzsimmons, yes,
Yeah.
who supplied the effects box for Siren, a song you'll never hear tonight. Won't mean anything to anybody. But what's it?
And the Raw Anger.
And also that he supplied a tremendous amount of raw anger.
Yeah.
There was Toadstool, and then there was Stylus, and Brad, who just stood motionless on stage, if you recall.
Yeah.
Or in our minds he did. He never actually
Yeah.
performed with us, but
Yeah.
he was a very central figure in our band.
I kicked him out.
Yes.
So by my count, the Smarmy Kitten reunion show only features 18% of the Smarmy Kitten membership.
I'm impressed with your math.
It's a totally random number, but it could be accurate for all I know.
I think you're in the ballpark.
Yeah. We're a special interest group.
That's awesome. So, well,
If we keep naming names, they'll appear. So they'll make themselves known at some point. So.
thanks,
Yeah.
Truth, because actually I was about to segue into some more music. So, gentlemen, please take your marks.
All right. I hope this isn't a call-in show.
Actually, I should point out that that anybody that is posting in chat right now, we don't know what you're saying, so hopefully it's not terrible. So without further ado, here is our second song of the evening by Smarmy Kitten, and It is titled Bowling.
I've been bleeding from wounds I don't have. They must have done it to me in some government lab. They cleaned the food off my plate. They squirted toothpaste on my TV. Gave me a brand new slate. They said convenience will set you free. Well, now I'm living off tundra. I stole the mask from the repo man. Despite the lightning and the thunder, I still believe the film's in the can. Worried, gonna go bowling. I'm not worried. I'm gonna cook it to me. I'm not worried. We will live on your water. Worried. I'm going busted. I've been watching. They sweat their gutters. In the supply, go get some golden cutters. But Bubble Man broke down my door. They took away my elevator shoes. So now I'm reading the Kinsey report, and I believe in the blues. I stole my mask from the repo man. Despite the lightning and the thunder, I think I'm loose. I just say I'm not worried. I'm gonna go bowling. Worried. Feels the planet on the edge. Worried. Yeah, we all get it. I'm not worried. More women, more grits. Huh.
I should have been more aware of when that song was going to end, so I could have my mic ready to go.
Teachable moment.
You learn something every day.
We don't really know when it ends either.
Yeah, fair enough. So that was Bowling by Smarmy Kitten, or as we've established earlier, 18% of the total Smarmy Kitten experience. You guys can fill in anything at any point here to say.
I was going to say 19%, but my math is a little shaky, so I don't know.
It's probably more accurate than just the random number I came up with. So good job.
We are the entertainment.
So
let's. By the way, what's the origin? It should be noted that I was no longer in the band at the time that this song was conceived, so I'm actually curious. Not that I would have remembered anyway, because 24 hours ago, I'm screwed. But what is the origin of this song? How did this song get conceived?
Use both mics. If I recall correctly, this is going to sound really cheesy, but it came to me in a dream. And that dream was filled with flower children and bowling balls, and I think a future vision of Leon Panetta, and a bunch of other really confusing things that I didn't understand. But, the kind of partnership that we form in this band is that some of us have visions, and the rest of us are interpreters and have the capability to turn a vision into semblance of reality. And so when I took it to the truth, he understood immediately what needed to be done.
I'm on a quest. Bowling slowed that quest down.
I don't know what to say about that, but I will say I'm really glad you came and played it tonight.
Thank you.
So let's switch gears for a moment.
Superhuman gears?
Sure.
Inside joke.
Yet another member of Smarmy Kitten we haven't yet mentioned.
That's
Okay, so now we're down to 17%.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the every band has the dizzying highs and the lowest lows. Let's talk about the dizzying heights. Like
We have dizzying lows. That's the difference with us.
We'll get to that later. But what were the shining moments? The greatest the greatest of the great when it comes to Smarmy Kitten.
One of my favorite moments was when we we were playing a college event called the Suitcase Party, and we had a serious, sober discussion as to whether or not Dan could fit in a suitcase, which we would bring onto stage and unpack.
Right, because the notion that Dan weighed a good, 140, 150, I don't want to out anybody here. We thought we could deadlift that, and but also do it in a way that looked very sort of seamless. And oh yeah, sure, there's nothing in here. No one will ever notice when we set it down, and then open it up, and our lead singer comes out of the suitcase to start the show.
And then if I recall, the other thing we did for the Suitcase Party was I had a good friend do an elaborate permanent marker tattoo on my back shortly before the show. So that I could then, it was like this big gothic thing that said truth. And then I would take off the robe and show my shirtless back to the audience, but I got so sweaty during the gig that the Sharpie all ran down my back and stained the top of the pants.
This is the same show that...
And this is the highs.
This is the dizzying
The
high.
highs and the lows invariably go together.
Yeah, it gets
Yeah.
shittier from here.
I'm going to nominate the 50th anniversary of Israel show we did. Yeah, the show
50th.
Right, wasn't it?
It was a long freaking time ago, I guess.
No, the 50th anniversary. Yeah, yes, you're
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
It was.
I thought it was just a Passover show.
Yeah, people don't realize that the nation of Israel was formed in 1947.
Yeah.
We're going to
No, we
spread a
did
lot
that
of
show in
controversy.
1997, remember?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is someone doing
Anyways.
SEO on this?
Okay.
This just went way out.
So anyway, go ahead. Go on, though, yeah.
So we dressed Dan up as a golden calf. He was wearing gold lame head to toe, gold face makeup, and spray painted his head gold.
And had a cowbell around his neck as well,
Yep.
I believe. So as to create an ethical dilemma for the audience of whether to worship him.
And we rarely worked women into the Smarmy Kitten stage show.
Because we didn't know many of them.
No, and the ones we did avoided us. So we did manage to get two to come up on the show, and what we did was we had Dan part the Red Sea to start the show, which meant making a giant letter C painted in red on 2 cards of paper that was then split and Dan walked through. So
It was a metaphor.
not at the time it wasn't.
Yeah. It was wildly successful. Instead of practicing, we came up with all these Old Testament gags that just nobody that we expected people to just be rolling in the aisles over. They're parting the Red Sea.
This
but
is the same year crickets
just
were invented.
just dead silence to all our
Yeah.
all the great gags.
It's fantastic. Our drummer was playing on the brisket with the 4 skins.
Yeah, I was ripping it up on the 4 skins of his brisket.
That's right. Yeah, Jewish Freedom Festival. Let's have Smarmy Kitten headline it. Really, it's their fault.
But what about there were some actual highlights, weren't there? Weren't there some high moments?
Oh, yeah.
The cube.
I don't think I'm going out on a limb when I say that I am art. So what I mean by that is, actually, somebody found an ad. An ad had been placed.
You're autotelic.
What?
Yeah, you're autotelic. You are art.
Autotelic. I am art.
Yeah. Don't be afraid to speak into mics.
Yeah.
That's good for business.
People are more likely to catch it that way.
Can we just
Understood.
yell?
Are. Oh yeah. So Dan, explain the origin behind.
So there
how
was
we
an
ended up playing in a
advertisement that
glass
was
cube.
placed. There was an advertisement that was placed in the student center, which said bands needed to rehearse inside a glass cube at the Museum of Contemporary Art in Chicago.
It was like 12 by 12 or something.
It was a 12 by 12 by 12 glass cube. It was perfectly square. And the idea was that it was part of an exhibition called Performance Anxiety. And everything in the exhibit had something to do with making people anxious because something that was not typically a performance suddenly had become a performance. To give you context, some of the other exhibits were a drink machine from which you could actually get drinks, but you had to go across a flooded pond on stepping stones to get to it. So everyone's, of course, looking for the fail, right? They're waiting to see somebody go in the water. So very few people actually did it. The other thing I can remember is that there was a dude in a deer costume just kind of lurking. I don't remember what his purpose was.
No, there were two costumes. I think it was something like it was some commentary on sodomy, if I remember correctly. It was a deer, someone in a deer costume, and someone in like maybe a sheep costume.
That's right. Aaron's right. And you'd go into a booth and you'd watch a video of the two acquiring carnal knowledge of each other.
You'd have to dress
and then
as
you'd
one of
have
the two.
to dress up as one of the two.
You'd have to dress. That's what it was. Going into it, you had to put on one of the two costumes, either the deer or the sheep, and then you had to watch a video in which you watched a deer sodomize a sheep, I believe.
Right.
By the way, I'd like to take this moment to say hi to my mother, who's watching at home. Hi, Anita.
And if I could take a moment to apologize for those that might have been offended in that last segment.
We're just describing something that happened in an actual
It was
public
art.
museum like 15 years ago.
Don't worry.
Can we clarify? This was not our doing.
This was not
the
our show.
art exhibit. Yeah, this wasn't.
So
We had a deer and a wombat.
I'm giving you the context. Okay.
Smarmy Kitten's attempt to communicate with the audience.
Right. So I think that the artist, and I'm ashamed that I can't remember. Hopefully the internet will rectify this. But the artist's concept was that the anxiety...
The artist is raging in the discussion forums right now.
Yeah.
Over not being mentioned.
So misrepresented.
I think the artist intended that the band would somehow be intimidated by the fact that they were completely surrounded by a public audience, whereas a rehearsal space is often a dark room that doesn't have any, windows into it.
It looks like where you're standing right now.
It pretty much would look like what we're standing in right now. So if this was all glass, we would be pretty freaked, theoretically. But
Well-
they were dealing with the wrong band.
Except for Flaubert Snafu,
Yeah.
that is a known exhibitionist.
Instead, what I likened it to was my dad used to take me to the hardware store, at the Ace Hardware in Naperville, Illinois. And for some reason, this hardware store had a monkey. And the monkey lived in this little cage. I'm not really sure if it was getting a sufficient amount of oxygen or food. And the thing to do was,
of love.
if you were a kid, you're like 4 or 5 years old, you want to shock the monkey, right? Like Peter Gabriel. And so you show up and, you try to make that monkey freak out and just boom against the glass, So I kind of, I think we all kind of inhabited that monkey from the Ace Hardware. And that's we turned the thing sort of inside out, basically.
Yeah, if I can give the experience to the viewers, the idea was we didn't have amplifiers for our instruments.
Oh, that's
So
right.
we were just playing into jacks in the ground. So for all intents and purposes, when the people would view the museum, there would be a plexiglass cube with a bunch of costumed buffoons dancing around and playing instruments which were making no sounds. However, there were headphones set up so that you could put on the headphones and listen to us.
Yeah, but in order to put on the headphones, you had to sit like 6 inches from the front of the plexiglass. So it became very conspicuous, not only to the band that someone was watching them, but to the viewer that the that they were being performed to. So it was supposed to create a tremendous amount of anxiety, which, as Dan mentioned, we didn't care about because we pressed ourselves right up to the glass and we're like, bring it, some bitches.
It was one of our best mixed shows.
Okay, here's what I have to say about this. This is a terribly interesting story, but I don't fucking get art at all.
Yes. Carry on. Move past it.
I don't know much about art, but I know what I don't like.
That's code word for somebody fake a drill press accident.
Yes, there's not a whole lot that's on camera, but there is various power tools here. I believe there was a whole segment earlier where we made jokes about how a bandsaw is an important instrument in any garage band. So,
Yes.
If your ice was in a Neubauten.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you can't tell at home, we are in a garage. Surprise!
Absolutely.
As awesome as it looks.
We're actually at Staples Center, but we have an amazing psych that looks
Yeah.
like a garage.
Okay, so I'm not sure how much different this is going to be from the last question, but I'm interested to see where it goes. So let's talk about the lowest lows of Smarmy Kitten. What were your fails? What were your oh my god, I can't believe we did that? Especially give me something that you would never want anybody to ever know about, because that's makes for good entertainment.
Danger.
Go ahead, Truth.
Yeah, let's get the truth about all
I
this.
suppose one of the lowest of the lows was at the suitcase party, as if the ink running down my back wasn't bad enough. But we had an issue with tuning for several of our first gigs, and I remember feeling like somebody, like alter ego was out of tune, as if I wasn't.
For about the first half dozen shows, yeah.
Yes, and I remember coming close to physically assaulting you to say that you were a whole step down or something like that.
Yeah, there's usually if you're a seasoned musician, you have sort of ways of kind of looking and doing little, subtle hand gestures. But like, he would give me one of these, Jesus Christ, you're a half step out of tune looks.
Yeah.
And he might even say that, so where it's
Very
not
classic.
far enough out of earshot to make it
Exactly, yeah.
inconspicuous to our 5 viewers. So yeah, that was pretty bad. Boy, what are some epic fails?
We've left substantial portions of our
Oh yeah,
equipment at venues. Just walked away.
done with the show.
At our
Yeah, I guess this is everything. Me.
I left my amp at one show. Never recovered it.
Just walked away.
It's all good guitarists do.
Was alcohol a factor?
No.
We were
No.
all
Oh,
under
wait.
21 at the time.
I don't know
Oh.
if this is a low point either,
Wait,
but for
You were under 21 in college, and somehow alcohol
Yes.
wasn't a factor.
That's
still
the story.
not. Still
the
not.
story
No,
we're
we
going
were
with.
very
Yeah.
strict. We were like the Frank Zappa
Yeah.
of college bands.
Can I
Yeah,
call
the
BS real quick?
part of the the idiocy of the entire endeavor was that we were never drunk during any of this.
Yeah. Well,
I should actually probably claim so that I've got plausible deniability, but
Yeah.
I think we were dead sober throughout all these antics.
that's probably true.
Yeah.
But well, I know where Jerry's going with this, so go ahead.
I'd like to point out that for the first 2 years, Smarmy Kitten existed. Aaron rented his bass.
$20 a month. had to show up. Had to take the L to the place
So
to renew it every month.
So 2 years in, you could have bought like 2 used basses by then.
Oh yeah, for
For
sure.
what you were renting for your
Absolutely.
bass.
This was your entire tenure in Smarmy Kitten.
Well,
I mean, up until the
Well, real-
postgraduate.
yeah, real quick, because I want to talk about the obelisk, because we promised to talk
Oh,
about that.
oh,
But
the obelisk.
but no, I wasn't supposed to be the bass player of Smarmy Kitten. I was supposed to be the keyboard player because I had taken 3 non-consecutive years of piano lessons, thus qualifying me to perform in a rock band. And this is a true story. 20 minutes before our first show, C. Spencer who was our planned bass player, decided, you know what, I'm just not into this, guys.
Yeah.
And bailed. And I'm like, really? Like, you won't even, like, can't even get through the show? And he's like, no, I'm out. Sorry. And I'm like, well, how hard is it to play bass? It's like one string at a time, right? You don't even have to know chords and shit. So,
Right.
so I was like, can I borrow your bass? He's like, sure. I'm like, you don't need a keyboard. You got to have a bass in a band.
Yeah.
So I took his bass in the back and I furiously learned whatever probably root notes there were to the first 2 things and played terribly. And I've been playing bass guitar ever since. So, yeah. And renting it all throughout college.
Yep. And you show promise.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm getting there. So the obelisk, real quick.
Yeah. Truth needs to tell it. He's the best. Truth is the best storyteller in the band. Why are you tuning now?
He wants to be ready for when you
You
play
understand?
another
It after that suitcase party gig, it's been ingrained in me for the last 15 years.
Right.
So,
Okay.
all right. So we had. Please correct me as I roll down the story. So you had been working at the Sight and Sound.
The AV.
The
Right, I was
AV place, thank you.
Yeah, I was an AV tech.
That was part of the university.
Yeah.
And we had decided that it was very important for us to use what we called an obelisk, which was really just a couple of 2x4s nailed together and painted black, and it was a rectangle. And so, however, we called it an obelisk, and we had some sort of gargoyle that I had gotten.
Well,
that was later destroyed or left behind.
No, yeah. Well, okay. I'll back up. I'll correct. You asked to
Yes,
correct you if you're
please.
wrong.
Go
You're
ahead.
so wrong.
Go.
Falsity. We're going to start calling you.
Yeah.
No, so we were recording all of our shows on a VHS camera that I had borrowed from our sound rental facility as a film TV major for a project we were doing every single weekend. And also present at the Cage, which was the location where we'd rent all this, was this obelisk. And the guy who, basically he would rent stuff to me, and then there's this obelisk sitting there in the back that was standing about yay high. And we had a song called The Calling, which involved an answering machine that used to play like a little melodic thing at the beginning. So, of course, we spun that into a song, and we needed something for it to sit on for the show. So I saw this thing. I was like, what's that thing behind you, man? He's like, oh, that's not for borrowing. It's whatever it is. And I was like, well, is there any chance? And the guy's like, all right, look, I'll give it to you, but you have to return it, like not a scratch on it. Like, and I'm not even supposed to do this, so I'm not even going to sign it out to you. But seriously, man, like guy to guy, like, can you please just make sure, like, you guard this thing with your life? Go ahead, Truth.
Okay, so yeah, it was signed in blood that this obelisk shall be returned, and then we, and the idea was that we then proceeded to return all of the Norris Sight and Sound equipment back to the AV room along with the obelisk. However, we did not realize that there was a long-standing vendetta by the gentleman who ran the AV department that
With the art department next door.
department
Yeah.
would constantly leave supplies in there. And so he, upon receiving the obelisk,
Well,
for which
prior to that happening, the person in the Sight and Sound department had told the art department, "I'm tired of you leaving your overflow stuff out here. If you leave one more thing here, I'm going to destroy it." So we proceeded to leave the venue, not heeding the fact that this obelisk needed to get returned to its rightful place, despite signing in blood that I needed to do so.
Yeah.
And where did it end up?
And then it was, and then apparently when the AV gentleman walked into the room, he saw what he clearly knew was not part of his equipment, and he went into a blind rage and destroyed it with a hammer. He pulverized it.
And so I proceeded to walk back on Monday morning to the Cage, and I was like, "Well, here's your video camera." The guy's like, hey, what about that obelisk thing that I loaned you?" I'm like,
It was destroyed in a rage.
for a split second, I'm going through my head. I'm like, all right, Devil Angel, how do I? I'm like, I could say, oh, we're totally looking into that. Can I get somebody who I know to build this? Somebody in stagecraft? And I said, dude, I'm just gonna shoot straight. This thing got returned back there. A guy saw it, thought it was part of the art department, grabbed a hammer and went into a blind rage and destroyed it. And there's not a shred of it left. And the guy was laughing so friggin' hard. He's like, you know what? That's so friggin' funny. I'm not even going to penalize you for it. And I was like, thank God, because that would have been like my entire Sunday night lunch money or Sunday night dinner money.
You wouldn't have been
For a
able
quarter.
to re-rent the base.
Exactly.
It would have been the end.
Would stand there playing air bass.
Yeah.
How about another low point when I had just another profound low point was we were recording at the college radio station, and we of course we would record while they were broadcasting with how many watt antenna?
Oh, a 7200 watt.
So there's 7200 watts of FM pumping 10 meters from our our recording devices.
Tony's the engineer, by the way.
Yeah, and so I had so we're getting excessive radio noise while Aaron's recording a part on his rented bass and the rented amp. And then we decide that we need I had just taken the class that discussed antennas, and I go, well, it's possible that cord is acting as an antenna. so the natural solution
I might have to demonstrate this visually.
was to get this cord set up such that Aaron could play, connect his bass to the amplifier and play with a 6-inch cord.
It's the cord you use to connect your pedals together.
Yeah.
But I did, hold on, Dan, here, take the mic. So I was playing like this, I recorded an entire song for the album that we actually released later, like this.
And the thing is, he wasn't trying to get feedback. He was trying to eliminate radio interference.
And can I say, it looks a lot more dramatic with the real bass rig. Not so dramatic when it's a 6-inch speaker.
Oh, yeah.
The thing was called Gorilla, but it was kind of a baby monkey.
So I think here's the saddest part of this whole story is that you're trying to avoid the interference from a 7,200 watt like college radio station,
right?
And you literally can't find a place a mile away to get away from the interference.
There's no way to do it.
Pro Tools.
No, that was where Pro Tools did.
I played the entirety of my college career performing with a practice amp that was about this high, as if that's what people do. It was like I don't even know what to liken that to. It's like as if like Spills had like a Fisher Price My First Drum Kit or something and was like 1, 2, 3.
And when he hits the hi hat, it moves.
Yeah, exactly. One can only hope.
Yeah, it's kind of, I guess it's like Born to Run on big wheels.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a pregnant pause.
I know.
Help us out
like,
here.
You thought someone was going to back you up, and
I
then
really did.
no one came to your rescue.
Yeah, it is totally like
That's
that.
our most recent low point.
Yeah.
We just passed it.
Yeah.
So you guys ready to move on to another song?
Yeah, probably.
Or do you want to wallow in self-pity any longer?
Well, you're talking about lows. Actually, this next song is just about this. This is actually a song that Jay Ryan and I co-wrote in an airport in Los Angeles during his visit on spring break.
Yeah, March of '97.
March of '97. And this is about like what if we wrote a song about people that their lives are just absolutely damned from the word go, just right from the start. People who are, you do something and there's just no way that this ends well. Inspired in large part by our experiences.
I know, like most of the songs I co-wrote with Super Duper Smarmy Kitten, it's in third person.
All right, so gentlemen, take your marks. Here is Smarmy Kitten with their song "Damned from the Get-Go."
This is a story about Billy Joe and the way life done him wrong. He brewed a whiskey in the county jail, but it didn't brew there for long. He built a still in his tiny cell where he would brew 12 pints a day. He made a fortune selling the stuff to other inmates who would pay. Then one day the warden found out and he asked Billy for a cup. And Billy said no, the warden took the still and he locked poor Billy up. He was damned from the get-go. He was damned from the get-go. There was a singer named Tammy Lee who was 10 years past her peak. She sang up in a biker bar where she performed 6 nights a week. The clientele was a rowdy sort and not too cultured, safe to say. They thought Puccini was a pasta dish and they wouldn't eat it anyway. Tammy Lee had a voice so high, was known to shatter glass. First thirsty biker had his piece down break, the fellow off the kick her ass. He was damned from the get-go. sell your dog for science. Sell your dog for science. The first time I went to New York, I was insulted by a waitress in a Moroccan-themed club. I was holding a subway map and waiting for a friend. She asked me where I was from, and I said, Illinois. But I guess I should have said Chicago, because her response to that was, oh, how cute. Should have stayed in Chicago. Should have stayed in Chicago. Push me out into the battle. Push me out into the battle. Push me out into the There was a driver named Willie Boyd who was known all over town. He used to drive by the toxic dump and he would do so with the windows down. Now Willie won most every race, so yeah, the man had nerves of steel. He wasn't bothered by the noxious fumes he would consume while behind the wheel. But then one day, he grew a third foot, but oh Billy, he just did not care. Well, one stepped on the gas, the other stepped on the brake, and you can guess what happened from there. He was down, 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 down from the get-go. He was down, 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 down from the get-go. He was down, 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 down from the get-go. He was down, 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 down from the get-go. Down from the get-go, yeah.
And then it goes on for like 37 minutes.
Mrs. Robinson?
You know, as long as the sampler's still running, I think this song is technically a Ah, there we go.
You asked about low points.
Ladies and gentlemen, Smarmy
We've
Kitten.
greatly improved.
Oh, Sock, I think you turned me down, dude.
Should we give should we give a contact address for the record labels to call?
That's right. We're performing at the Whiskey a Stop Stop. Are we still live?
Yeah, we're still live.
Oh, fantastic. So yeah, this sums up our college
There
career
you go.
for the
This
most
is
part.
true Smarmy Kitten more than any story we could tell. The truest of the
And-
true.
Low moment.
It should be noted that we for a hot minute we took a sort of step back and looked at this as a gestalt, and we're like, yeah, I think we can go pro with this.
This is a good
So
stuff.
we had a serious discussion.
It's also true that if you give me 4 things to do during a set, I will properly execute 3 of them. No more.
Excellent.
I'd like an honest.
Well done.
I'd like an honest discussion on the chat boards about whether we should just all quit our jobs and just go pro straight now. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Just get whisked away by helicopter to Wembley Stadium.
We'll get back to you with the results of that survey. I'd like to point out that we did promote you as the band that everyone wanted to see reunite, but then we had to qualify it that we used a ridiculously low sample size.
How low?
I think I talked to Scott, and Scott was like, "Yeah, that sounds good."
The members of the band.
Yeah, there were more former members of Smarmy Kitten than there were people requesting us.
But most of them didn't want to see the reunion.
Yeah,
of
I was
former
gonna-
members. So
I was gonna say that if we
had to
actually
cut them from the
If we actually reached out to the other 82% of Smarmy Kitten,
Yeah.
the numbers might not have been so good.
We needed a plurality.
That's not our target market.
If you're a former member, we are not looking for you in the
You are
podcast.
post facto out of the band.
We're looking for future members.
Lots of reaching across the aisle.
Oh, so So I have to say that now I know we talked about highs and lows for.
By the way, we're in bonus
Smarmy
time
Kitten.
right now. Is this like somebody got a yellow card or something?
I'll tell you when you have to worry about
Awesome,
things.
awesome.
And it's never. I want to say that that I believe that we just had another O'Donoghue's Pub high, watching the great Smarmy Kitten do Dan from the Get Go, and particularly Dan's antics at the very end of that song, that have led to also maybe one of our lowest lows when we had to untangle you from every single piece of equipment in this garage.
We call that winning.
That's the relationship that we form with the audience. Our lows are your highs.
And we are happy to have you here for that.
I think that the actual, if we, we hadn't taken European literature yet, but I think the name of the band is actually Schadenfreude. Oh boy! Oh, what's the pregnant pauses?
Scheiten-
I know,
Nerda.
You've got nobody backing you up tonight. I don't know what to
Because
do
there's
for
only
you.
2 microphones.
Yeah.
Wasn't that a Rush B-side?
Only 2 microphones.
Yeah.
So
That's for the audience's protection.
So let's talk about post Smarmy Kitten. I guess with the exception of Fuck Squatch, who your post Smarmy Kitten experience is yet to be told.
Well, let's let him speak for himself on that.
Well, where do you see yourself going next, Fuck Squatch?
Back to the forests of the Hollywood Hills.
With your brother to find, I don't know what.
No, not with my brother.
Oh, okay.
They have actual coyotes in those hills. I've heard them.
I think there's bobcats and stuff like that up there too. I don't know.
He's going to team up with Daryl and Storm Woodbury. He's going after the governor. Anybody?
I know there's skunks. So for the rest of you, what was your life trajectory? Where'd you end up after Smarmy Kitten?
Who wants to share?
Here you go, Truth.
Yeah, for professional reasons, I cannot divulge.
That's right.
Wow, that is the best interview answer ever.
No,
You're so off the show.
He's got an
Do we want-
abstaining order against
Do
him.
we want to discuss musical endeavors?
You can
Probably
discuss whatever you
safest.
want, but
Yeah, I think
what do you think?
As opposed to statutory ones? Where are we going?
I mean,
Do you have a rap sheet that you are trying to hide? where are you going with this?
Ixnay.
Says the man in the robe.
Yeah.
He's the only one of us who knows Latin. So.
Yeah, so let's put it out there musically then, since we apparently have
Yeah.
we have to qualify.
Just really quickly, I'll just do shout-outs to all the other bands that I've had the pleasure of partaking in since then that I can think of it off the top of my head. Hurry Sundown, Lola, Mercy Street, Illuminata, Mover Shaker, Galileo, the Dexter Man Project, the aforementioned Ceramic Dalmatians. God, I sat in with J Cubed. I don't know if that really counts. The Seas. There was a band that I was in that actually never reached performance status, unlike the Dexter Man Project, which performed once, which was awesome. And then Super Duper.
I have my own microphone.
You're going to need 2 for this one.
I don't really need you.
Yeah, can you do this in faux stereo? Because it'll still be mono.
Pan. Right. So, it was all I could do to, I guess, keep out of bands, despite the fact that I played drums very poorly. But I did the thing where I move around, and you just saw it. So, let's see. Post Smarmy Kitten, there were 2 bands in New York. One was called the Audreys. One was called the Cooper Vane. And then there was a band in Portland, Oregon called Persons of Interest. And then I moonlighted in Dexter Man Project for one show. And then Super Duper was the band that formed in 2007 and established my residency in L.A.
Aaron, didn't you say that Dexter Man only performed once?
Well, actually, Dexter Man himself didn't perform at all. This is a...
Did I ask a question I shouldn't have?
Oh, boy. This is can we come back next week for the Dexter Man Project? No, the Dexter Man Project was a concept band featuring the phenomenally talented, pan-talented Dexter Man, who never showed up to any gigs.
Yeah. And then the 4 of us here.
Yeah.
And John Jackson?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
were members of it. Everybody wore a jumpsuit, uniformly colored, numbered
Yeah.
2 through 6.
Yes.
Dexter
Because-
was number 1.
Because one never showed up
Yes.
to the show.
No, that was our. Yeah.
So we would wait until to see if he
Wait until
showed.
the crowd started leaving.
By any chance, was Dexter Man the same guy that put you in a glass cube? Because that sounds like the same kind of
for
dude.
all we know.
Yeah. Well, once we had tested the crowd's patience enough, Dan would set down an instrument that he didn't play and announce to the crowd that he would gamely step in and be the front man for the evening. The show must go on. You spent good money to be here, and the Dexter Man Project will continue without Dexter Man for a night. We're sorry, and we'll go ahead and do a set.
What I really wanted to do, had we reached the elusive second show, which is a very hard goal to attain in this town, is I really wanted to tell everybody that we're sorry he couldn't be here. He's off celebrating his birthday, but in honor of him, won't you please join us in singing Happy Birthday? We wanted to see if we could get a packed house to sing along Happy Birthday to a fictitious human being.
Yeah.
I thought that would have been an interesting social experiment, but it turns out getting a second gig was even more challenging.
Mm-hmm.
When the backstory to the first gig is that the lead singer didn't even show up.
Well, that was going to be the running gag, is he would never
Right.
show up, and there would be a different reason each time.
But do you think that maybe the promoter wasn't in on the joke or something, and just like, oh, this guy's
Yeah.
if their lead singer can't show up, I'm never going to book him again.
Well, the promoter was me. 'cause
Yeah,
it
you're
was
saying
my
promoter
backyard.
like it wasn't him.
This is at Burbstock.
Yeah, but face it, the guy doesn't remember 24 hours later. So
Could be.
And then I'll add one detail to this, which is at this time I had started trying my hand at concert photography and had gotten a whole nice expensive rig and went to the show and was happy to shoot my buddy's new band. I shot multiple rolls of film. This was back in the day of rolls. And then proceeded to edit them down, crop them, make them look perfect, and then that was it. Never sent them to anybody. So there's all sorts of documentation that I've only looked at.
Perfect.
Occasionally I'll look at it on my computer.
Thus reaffirming his status
you.
as a tried and true Smarmy Kitten member. All right, Fuck Squatch, you're in quite a few bands. Would you like to shout out to some of them?
A big shout out to my band Heart of Gold. Not a Neil Young cover band, but if there are any Hitchhiker's Guide fans out there, you'll get it. And the first Wednesday, as of last month and the continuing months, come down to the Grand Star Jazz Club in Chinatown. And I'm part of a crazy electronica live outer space kind of thing called the Flying Platforms. So first Wednesday of every month.
And I'll shout out to my high school band, the Rainy Nosed Warriors, which had 10 members, 3 of whom who could play instruments, 4 of whom who did.
Were you one of the 4?
I was, that 4th. Yeah.
Should we just let that lie?
Yes.
Okay.
so
Outstanding.
we're running a little short on time. So I'm gonna jump to one last question, and it is posed to a specific member of this band, and that would be Flaubert Snafu. I have to say that Dan Safarik has I've known you for what a year and a half roughly, something
Counting
like that.
Yeah.
And I've been a huge fan of Super Duper. I'm so sorry to see that you guys had to meet your inevitable end, I guess.
Us too.
But there's some big news on your horizon. Let me pitch you the softball. 7 days from now, where will you be?
I'm going to be in the delivery ward of a hospital. I'm pregnant. That's not actually true.
Last time I ever let the band script their questions.
Right. So I studied architecture a long time ago, before Super Duper even began, and I've been kind of meddling my way through and getting involved in it, kind of toe in the water, and it's a business is very subject to economic conditions, construction, financing, blah 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 blah. It just hasn't been a very good business to be in. It's a good profession, but not a good business. So I was very sad to be sort of to the side of it. I've been architecture blogging for a year to kind of
prop myself up and continue to kind of stay engaged with it. And I guess it started to bear fruit because now I'm going to be moving to Chicago to be a publications editor for the Council on Tall Buildings and Urban Habitat, which sounds like something that you'd see made up in a Wes Anderson movie, but is in fact a real thing. Is the arbiter of building heights and encourages sustainable urban vertical living.
Can I ask you for like one favor?
I'm not sure. Well, you can ask.
Using your newfound architectural moxie, weight to carry around, can you try to bring back mezzanines and spires?
I'll see what I can do.
These are the things I want to see in buildings again.
Although you have to look to Asia. Look to Asia and the Middle East, young man. You'll find plenty of those things.
I want to be able to do it domestically, please.
Yeah, build USA.
So,
how do you feel about giant babars on top of buildings with one bloated eye?
I don't even think essential describes it. I would advocate for it very strongly.
Perfect.
Well, Dan, on behalf of everybody here in the Los Angeles area, I believe I posted on your Facebook page that LA is better off for having a Dan Safarik, and you're the only one I know. So,
thank you.
While Chicago will be lucky to get you,
Back.
yeah, quiet over there, Sock. So while Chicago's going to be lucky to get you, and in fact, interestingly enough, Sock's brother is runs a recording studio out there. So we've got a future for you.
Is he a Sox fan?
I don't know.
Now, you see what I've done there? I've taken a baseball team that's based in Chicago, and I've made a riff off of his name.
Oh, those Sox. I thought you meant the ones that were in Boston. I was confused.
No, fuck those guys.
I don't know why you had to come with an English accent when talking about Boston, about Chicago, but whatever.
I think it's after midnight. I'll get back to you on my new name.
But here in LA, I think we're definitely going to miss you, and
Well, the feeling is mutual.
hopefully you will continue making some great music. When you're not convincing people to build taller and more interesting buildings in the Chicago area.
I hope so.
So keep in touch with us, please. And I definitely want to thank all of you guys for coming out tonight. Sadly, I think we've reached the end of our show. So
Thank you for having us.
I'm glad you were able to come. Just one more shout out. Anybody else got anything they got to say to feel complete? Everybody wants the Truth to say something. What do you want to say, Truth?
Hi, Jacob. Hi, Lucas.
Oh,
Love you guys.
The children of truth.
Yeah.
aren't we all children of truth?
No.
Or shouldn't we strive to be? I don't know.
Jay Ryan is.
Yeah.
So,
Honorary.
yeah. So I'd like to thank you guys again to run it down. Smarmy Kitten tonight has been played by Chris Spilsbury as Fuck Squatch, the newest member and the only living drummer as far as the story goes. We've got Tony Graziaso back there playing The Truth, reprising his long-standing role. We've got Aaron Solomon over here playing his alter ego, the man of many names, but yet none. Then we've got J. Ryan Stradal over here as Keith Stash. And finally, departing the Los Angeles area in just a few short days, we've got Dan Safarik as Flaubert Snafu. Ladies and gentlemen, Smarmy Kitten. I'm glad you gave yourself a hand because everybody at home, you can't hear. I have been your host, DJ Rubik. With me, of course, is DJ Sock. And this has been O'Donoghue's Pub. Thank you all for joining us, and have a great evening.